On this episode of Lapeef, Let's Talk.
Digital. So I just think that it's kind of disingenuous for us to say that we have all the control and that it's not controlled, that it's not regulated. I mean, it is regulated. Like, we can even have seen the evolution of curse words and how there was a certain regulation on that in the 90s that's completely different now. So to act like media is not regulated, and then, if we can finally acknowledge that, we say who are the people doing the regulating and doing the approving of what's able to be on air and what's not. It's just not Black people. It's just not. That's why we champion and we celebrate people who are able to tell their stories authentically, like people like Issa Rae, that are 100% able to produce their content and it's not, influenced by other things. That was triumph, because that is something that doesn't happen. So I don't know. I just think that there is a lot of different parts to this, but the facts are facts.
Why are we acting like there's nothing that controls what people can and cannot say?
Okay, I'm gonna ask you this. Then, Kay. Hold on. I just real quick. Have you known any of the Lapeef videos to get flagged for that?
I plead the fifth.
So you don't.
Whatever you think that is, I said I plead the fifth.
Have you known anybody videos that got flagged for these so-called keywords that we cannot say?
Ask JR, because he is the one that would have all that information. But I have directly Logic. I have directly been told Logic. I have directly been told, and I've seen messages that say that we cannot talk about certain things or use certain words.
I know what you've been told, but it's just like dumb shit that YouTube that dudes just
tell JR.
No, I'm talking to you because you the one that used it as a point.
And I'm telling you that there are words that you should not, and you got to be careful, because if you get caught saying
Wait. What word have what? Yo, I have one of the most. Let's just be real. I have one of the most egregious.
Wait.
Okay, my bad.
I'm sorry. I wanted that hook.
Logic.
Hold on. Y'all got to let Logic finish first, and then we'll go.
I don't think she understands.
JR, you want me to say all the words? Like, do you want this video to be potentially flagged? Come on. Okay. We all know that there are words we shouldn't say. Why do people say great?
Okay, hold on.
Instead of the actual word. Let's not do this. We're not.
Okay, this is what Logic is asking. You were told not to say that. But do you know you actually got flagged for saying that?
Hold on, Courtney. Let me ask some context.
She don't all the words. Try it.
Her answer is. Hold on, Harry. Let me clarify for you. Her answer is this. Courtney.
Okay, well, cute. Whoever. I don't care who it is.
This is the answer.
Out the stream.
She does not know. So let me give you some context. Let me give you some context as to what really happened, because JR and I have dealt with this since the inception of the platform. Okay. What happens is people flag a video. There is not one video of all of the thousands of the videos that we have, not one that we've had to remove because of getting flagged or is demonetized as a result of it. What we do is that we go through the review process. They go in, they check, and we've said everything. We've said every single word that you can think of in the alphabet, in the dictionary, including on my own platforms in which I've created, just so we can say some of the most egregious things.
So then why are we saying things like great?
Nothing is demonetized and nothing is removed. So considering that, how do you know what we can and can't say?
I don't know. Maybe I'm wrong. Let's all start saying the real words. Why do we say things like grape? Why do we do all this if it's not real? If it's just some mythical thing that's by
I think something that you have to kind of keep in mind too is that, once you in a space, you'll see that some channels may get dinged a little bit more than others. It's a system and it's unpredictable. So in order to kind of play it safe, it doesn't necessarily mean that you will get flagged. We just rather just kind of stay away from it. So it isn't that you all the time get flagged. You may get flagged and it may just you know, they just want to just double check. Maybe it might trigger the system a little bit, but
why would it trigger the system if we can just say whatever we want?
Because listen. It's not necessarily a system. People may get offended, and a lot of times they may flag a video. When YouTube came back to us and they said, "Nah, y'all good. Y'all can continue to doing what y'all doing." Just because we're taking precautions does not mean that you know what you're talking about from your talking point when you're emphasizing what we can.
You take the precautions based on my talking point. Okay.
Hey, but I think we're drifting. Hold on, I think we're drifting away from what the last major point that we were discussing was. We started talking about Tyler Perry. He has an entire production company, right? Right. This man has the ability to change what our public image is, right? The way people portray us, or excuse me, the way people view us based off how he portrays us, right? And I think that's what we should be talking more about, not the individual words on fucking YouTube. This man got a whole fucking production company, and he is consistently, and he assists. Let me finish my point though.
Okay, you're right.
He consistently continues to drive home. Damn, what's the word I'm looking for? What's that? Stereotypes. That's the word I'm. Excuse me. Sorry for the pause. He continues to drive home stereotypes that we should be trying to do everything in our fucking power to change those fucking things, especially if you out of a position of Tyler Perry stature. You have a fucking production company and people want your content. Be responsible in the content that you put out here to these fucking networks. That's what I think we should be talking more so about.
Wes,
am I wrong here?
I agree. We should talk about that.
So,
go ahead, Kayla.
Just really quick, as someone that went to school for journalism and has worked in a media newsroom, and worked at media companies for the past like 10 years, there are people at the top that control everything that is released. Now, we can say whatever we want about like social media or YouTube and things like that, but that is like niche. When we talk about media and the mass media, that's going to be what comes out of your news and what comes out of Hollywood. Now, we all know those are very much controlled by a very small group of white males. And that's just the fact of the matter. And if you even want to go into news, I mean, working in a newsroom, there are hundreds of different stories. But of the 10 stories tonight that they're going to actually show us, 8 of them are going to be about something negative in the Black community. Although there are tons of other stories about things that are going on. Exactly. That someone left a baby here or whatever. That's just how it's been in terms of how we're portrayed through the media. So we don't really have a lot to say. So in the bigger picture, obviously now that there's YouTube and there's podcast equipment, everybody has a voice. But that is very new to media and to the 5 mediums when it comes to digital, obviously against print, broadcast, radio, and SEO and digital. So I just think that it's kind of disingenuous for us to say that we have all the control and that it's not controlled, that it's not regulated. I mean, it is regulated. Like, we can even have seen the evolution of curse words and how there was a certain regulation on that in the 90s that's completely different now. So to act like media is not regulated, and then, if we can finally acknowledge that, we say, who are the people doing the regulating and doing the approving of what's able to be on air and what's not. It's just not Black people. It's just not. That's why we champion and we celebrate people who are able to tell their stories authentically, like people like Issa Rae that are 100% able to produce their content and it's not, influenced by other things. That was triumph because that is something that doesn't happen. So I don't know. I just think that there is a lot of different parts to this, but the facts are facts.